significant boost in the income. That is one aspect of it. So what we would also advise people, or my advice to anyone, is to invest in knowledge, get to understand and study and be abreast of the situations. I have a colleague who says that he would rather invest in shorter durations. So rather than taking a deposit for a fixed deposit or an investment for a year, he takes it on a monthly basis. It may be smaller, but it gives him that flexibility to immediately change course if he sees that things are going in a particular direction. The economic landscape can be pretty dynamic. It's not something that people can accurately predict and say, yes, this is it. Sometimes things happen in the middle of the year and things change. So these are some of the drawbacks that can come. When such economic policies or indicators are changed, it can actually affect the investment that you have made. So you have to be mindful of that and you have to watch out for that. But being knowledgeable is something that will help you. It's a great asset.
Right. We'll pause here and take a short break. This is Frontiers, and we are taking a look at financial prudence. The conversation continues shortly. Now, let's pick up where we left the conversation before we took that break. Housing is one's basic needs. How should individuals go about this plan, especially with the rising cost in housing in the country right now?
Thank you. Now, the real estate sector. Yes, it's the only estate that is real, as they would say. And it's one investment that helps you to hedge very well against inflation. And when people are thinking of buying a house, you need to look out for, take several things into account. One is the location. Looking out for the level of development in the area, it will help you predict the value in the near future. That's the first thing. The second thing you would look at as an individual is the size of your family or the purpose for which you want to use the property. Now, if it's where you want to live, I remember asking this question to a group of persons, if a property is an asset or a liability. And it's really dependent on the use, the purpose. If a single person goes to buy a duplex, a 5-bedroom duplex, it's more of a liability than it is an asset because of the cost of maintaining that property through his or her stay. It only becomes an asset when it's producing value and generating income.
Okay.
But when you look at the cost of maintaining the property, you realize that it's, especially if it does not fit that purpose. So you have to be very mindful of the purpose, the location, when you are going into buying a property for yourself. But I absolutely agree. It's one of the most liberating things, having a roof over your head. I usually tell people, you wouldn't know how fast the year runs except you're a tenant. Because when you pay the first rent in January, by the time people are laughing and it's November, December, all of a sudden you're wondering, the year has gone by so fast because you have to pay the rent again. So, but once you are able to own a property, it's liberating. That much I can say. However, you need to be sure that you have not inherited a massive liability.
Taking a look at life, health and disability insurance, how can individuals, ensure they have adequate insurance coverage, in the event of illness or job loss?
So I think insurance in this part of the world is something that people are still skeptical about. It is something that people are not as knowledgeable about yet. However, it works because I have benefited from it. I have seen people, all businesses that we run, we have implemented insurance plans for our members of staff, because we found that with the rising cost of living, people spent a lot on healthcare. And when you actually go to study the insurance companies out there, you will find that some of them actually have very affordable plans that can actually provide healthcare for people in some private hospitals that you would actually not think some people from a particular part of this country could afford.
Okay.
Because I know, for example, I have a member of my team who is not earning as much, but this person has access to healthcare from one of the prominent private clinics in the FCT, and it's thanks to a particular insurance company that we are using, and the premium is not as neck-breaking as some people would think. So I believe that if people actually take time to research, you could actually find some of these policies out there that could help you, even in planning for your unborn children, in planning for, because the thing with illnesses, and globally, it is said that many people working are one major health expense away from severe poverty.
Let's look at, how one can diversify investment portfolios, to minimize risk, especially with all manner of investment platforms coming up daily.
So, risk. There's risk in everything. And risk managers will tell you that there are several things you could do with risk. I can't remember the exact number now, but I know you can either accept the risk, transfer the risk, avoid it, or mitigate the risk. And so when it comes to investment and having a portfolio, again, if it's something you're not familiar with, there are professionals out there who actually run as a business investments and help people with diversifying and help people with managing investment portfolios. Now that's one way of transferring the risk to these persons, and you essentially share in the profits that comes out of there. You just have to really research. So that's why investing in knowledge is something we cannot overemphasize. So if you research, you will find some firms out there that actually manage portfolios for people and manage investments for people, so you can transfer the risk to them and share the rewards with them.
All right. Now, you've been in business for a long time. Talk to us. What's the experience like for you?
It's interesting. One of the things that I have learned as an entrepreneur in Nigeria and a business person is the need to be resilient. Another thing is to be focused, and I would say the third thing is to be positive-minded. So let's speak with resilience. Now, when you start off just about any business, you may likely experience a long period of drought. So focus is, I'm going to be on this, and I'm going to pursue through. Yes, you can change the strategy, you can change course when necessary, but remain resolute. We always tell people there is no good business or bad business, there is just a bad strategy. The third thing is the positive mind. So when you are a positive-minded person, it allows you to think of possibilities and be more optimistic. So you are constantly seeing the glass half full as opposed to half empty. So resilience, focus, and positive-mindedness.
All right. Share with us some of the mistakes that you would advise people, from your experience, to stay away from.
One of the first things you should avoid, if you can, is taking a loan to start.
Okay.
Loans should be for expansion. Because when you take a loan or you take money from family and friends to start, the pressure is even higher. Yes, some people say pressure is good, but some could be very destructive. So making sure that you are starting small. And that is what takes me to the next. The savings that we're talking about and having that culture, that should be your initial capital. It's what you use to start small. And when you've built it to a certain level and people can see the traction, naturally, things will take a natural course.
Okay.
You would know it is time to expand. And then when it's time to expand and you want to go the loan route, then you need to seek professional guidance and counsel. So you don't end up getting yourself immersed in so much debt. So seek guidance, seek counsel.
Before I let you go, whatever begins must end, of course. Let's turn our focus to retirement from work life. Now, what are the key factors to consider when planning for retirement?
We have sessions with people pre-retirement and post-retirement.
Okay.
So we found that there are 5 realities that come with retirement. And depending on your level of preparation, they could be stepping stones and they could be devils. So when you are approaching that stage, several things you need to start thinking about. From experience with people that I've interacted with that are about to and those who have retired, the first challenge that I see for many of them is inactivity.
Okay.
The second thing is cash flow. You're receiving salaries at a particular date every month, and all of a sudden that stops, and you don't have anything to fall back on. You've not had any secondary or third cash flow coming in. It's a major issue. The third thing is the age. It begins to show up and it begins to rear its head. The fourth thing is the subject of identity. So many people spend most of their working lives associating themselves very closely with where they work. And all of a sudden, you can no longer say you're a presenter. You now have to use the phrase or the word former or ex or retired. It starts to create some emotional imbalance. The fifth one, I dare say, is also relationships. Sometimes we establish relationships only within the work, and it's office to office. So we've not taken time to build personal relationships with people. So we tell people when you're approaching that period of your life, you need to start asking yourself very, very serious questions.
Okay.
Find out who you are, and if you've not been saving, you still have maybe 2, 3, 4 years or a couple of months, start saving and start thinking of what you are going to do. Otherwise, these 5 things I've just described will become your devils.
Mr. Winston, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much, Freema, for having me.
We have been taking a look at financial prudence in managing life events, and our guest has been Winston Ekwotu, a management consultant and agribusiness executive. Thanks for watching. I am Frama Paini.